Hello, hello, hello. How y'all doing today? I apologize. I was actually a couple minutes late. I literally finished up the lesson and I got through it. I'm like, oh my goodness, it's time to get started already. Time's fun when you're having flies, I swear. So I give it just a couple minutes. How you doing, Miss Alicia? Apologize for being late. I don't know if you've been waiting very long, but I do apologize. I was just finishing up my last thoughts on the subject that we're gonna go over tonight, and time just got away from me. So I do apologize if anybody was waiting. But hopefully, prayerfully, the lesson it'll be worth the wait. I always think so, but hopefully y'all will think so as well. All right, let me get my spot. We're going to, of course, be in 1 Samuel 14, the end of 14. And we're actually not going to get into it as much tonight as I thought we would. This is really going, I don't know if you guys saw the post or not. This is really going to be more of an introduction for the new series that we're about to start as we go through Samuel. So we're not going to get as much into 1 Samuel 14 tonight, the last part of 14 and the beginning of 15 tonight. We're going to kind of get into the intro, and then next week we actually start in on the actual lesson, so to speak, the actual point. So, like that, like that. Get some H2O. Sorry about the loud cup, y'all. Still ain't got a new one. Oh, Mr. Leo's tired. I know how it is, and boy, when they get tired, they get fussy. I had my grandbabies this weekend. We actually kept them for an extra day, and it's fun. I think I saw a meme of either a comedian said one day, like, the children are so weird that they don't. The only people I know that instead of taking a nap because they're tired, they just get fussy and cry about it. Like, just stop crying and go to sleep. So, it is how it is. It is what it is. All right, think I got my big acorn head, as my daughter called me, in the frame, and I think I'm gonna go ahead and jump into it since I was a little late. So I do apologize for anybody that was waiting for my lateness. I'm a habitual late person. And I try to be on time with these, you know what I'm saying? Because I know people got schedules to keep and things. And, they expect you to be there, they try to be there. But I do apologize. Like I said, I literally finished putting the last, dot and tittle on the lesson. And then that's what I was at. I was finishing up and I realized what time it was. I looked at the clock and saw what time it was. And I was actually a couple minutes over. So it was for y'all benefit. Now, like I said, hopefully y'all will enjoy this lesson tonight. And it'll be a good one to get you to thinking about the series that we're about to get into. So with that being said, of course, I'm John Stewart on behalf of the Lost Sheep Ministry, the minister of the Lost Sheep. Is that dirty? Let's see, clean it a little bit. Yeah, there we go. Got a little bit more shine on that head right now. Cleaned that off. Again, Brother John Stewart on behalf of Lost Sheep Ministry, minister of the Lost Sheep Ministries, sponsored by River Lake Baptist Church. And I'm here to bring out a lesson tonight, all important lesson. It's something that we deal with every single day. And a lot of people don't really think about it because most people don't think about what they do spiritually. They don't think about the spiritual implication of what they do. We only think about the physical implication of what we do. But it's something that we deal with every day. And that thing that we deal with every day, whether it's with parents or with our jobs or with God, what I'm saying? That thing is obedience and disobedience. We every single day we make decisions that determines whether we're going to be obedient and do the things that we know we're supposed to be doing, or we're going to be disobedient and do the things that we want to do. And that's something we deal with every day. So for the introduction to this series, this first lesson is just going to be the introduction. I'm just going to kind of do a side by side comparison of obedience and disobedience, and kind of get a little bit into the blessing that comes along with obedience and the curses that come along with disobedience. But I'm not gonna get, like I said, this is just the intro. So I always like to do my stuff different. I kind of tie everything together initially, and then I go through the chapter and actually show y'all like where I got these ideas from, or where I pulled these ideas from, kind of thing. But that's what we're going to be talking about tonight and for the next few weeks. We're going to talk about the obedience. And if you saw my Facebook post, the title of the post was Obedience and Blessings or Disobedience and Curses. And we don't realize a lot, and that's why I labeled it there. And I was going to put in there, you make the choice, which is kind of what we're going to be talking about over the next couple of weeks, giving you the information you need so you can make the right choice on which one you're going to choose. But I didn't want the title to be so long. I thought it'd be more mysterious if I just left it right there, kind of thing. But that's what we're going to be talking about over the next few weeks, because we don't realize how they both go hand in hand. Blessings go hand in hand with obedience. And curses go hand in hand with disobedience. And that's going to be my goal. Like I said, starting with this intro and over the next few weeks, it's going to be my goal to kind of show you guys that, do a comparison of the two and show you where you will get if the blessing that comes along if you do decide to be obedient, and also the curses and the trouble and the drama and the problems that are going to come along if you decide to be disobedient. So that's kind of the goal over the next few weeks, to just can do a side-by-side comparison of these two. And if we look at, like I said, we're going to get into the majority going to be 1 Samuel chapter 15 to 16. Is where a majority of the meat of the lesson going to come from. And the reason why I chose that, because we're going to see how Saul is going to start off being obedient, and he's going to be blessed because of it. And then he's going to get to a point where he's going to get too proud, and his pride is going to swell up on him, and he's going to get disobedient. He's going to get disobedient. Then there's going to be some curses that's going to come on him, and he's going to lose all that grace of God that he had because he chose to do his own thing instead of doing the things that God wanted him to do. So that's the brief little synopsis of what we're going to go through over the next couple of weeks. And like I said, this whole lesson today, I always like to do the first lesson before I start a series. The first one, I'm sorry. I always drink a lot of water, and I don't know why I do that, because it always make me burp while I'm doing this. I know that's nasty, and I apologize. But whenever I'm going to do a new series, whenever we start a new series, I always like to do the first episode or whatever, the first live. I like to just kind of do an intro and kind of give my, like I said, overall thoughts about the subject. And then we're going to get into, as we go through 1 Samuel 14, the end of 14 and 15, we're going to actually see what I'm talking about, and take those thoughts and tie everything together. And we're going to see how it works out in the end. So with that being said, I'm going and pray, because like I said, it ain't gonna no intro, because the whole chapter, the whole lesson today is the intro. But I'm going and pray so we can jump into this. Dear Lord, Heavenly Father, thank you so much for watching over us. Thank you so much for this opportunity today to let everybody here be here. That means that they had another safe day, another safe week, because I haven't been here since last week, Mother's Day. So that means they had another safe week of your blessings once again, and you kept them safe and protected. Whether they was obedient, disobedient, they're still here, and they're here to hear this lesson tonight, Lord. So I thank you for that. Thank you for keeping me safe, and let me have a good, relaxing day. This is my vacation week. So, I can't never take a vacation from you, but I don't have to go to work today, so it's pretty cool. And I was like, man, I'm so upset I didn't work today. It still ended up being late, but it is what it is, man. But I'm glad we're here. I'm glad the ones that's here are here to listen, are ready to listen. I hope they be attentive to the words that are going to be spoken here tonight. And more importantly, Lord, I pray you send your spirit upon their heart so they may receive this wisdom I'm going to share tonight. And not only tonight, for the rest of this series, because it's going to be very important, Lord, because there's so many things that goes on in our life that we don't realize that's based upon these two things, whether we're being obedient and disobedient. Our relationship with you is dependent upon it. The blessings we get in our life is dependent upon it. The chaos that we keep out of our life is dependent upon it as well. So it's a very important subject. I've done it several times before, whether it was in points in other lessons, or I've actually, a while back, a couple of years ago, I did a lesson on disobedience, kind of like what I'm doing here. But it's come up again. And the reason why it comes up, because it's so important. It's such a foundation in our relationship with you and our relationship in this world, our life in this world, Lord. And I pray you help the people see that. I'm praying I'm able to do the justice and bring out the wisdom to help the people see this, Lord. And I pray that I'll be able to change their perception from them just doing what they want to do, and help them see how important it is to do what you want them to do. And I pray you see a spirit upon their heart to get their hearts ready for this wisdom so they may soak it up and use it to build a relationship with you. And I also ask you to send your spirit down upon me, Lord, so I may bring forth this truth. Give me the wisdom, say the right things, and bring forth the right truths to help people change their perception. And we may all be better Christians when we leave this session and leave this series than we were before we started. We thank you so much once again for the opportunity to get into your word and talk about you and praise you freely. And I ask that you just let your spirit guide this session tonight so we may all do what we need to do to have a closer relationship with you. We love you and thank you for all you've done and giving and say this prayer in your wonderful son, Jesus' name. Amen. All right. So again, what I'm going to do, like I said, over the next few weeks, we're just going to look at a comparison of obedience and disobedience. The blessing that comes with the obedience and the curses that come with the disobedience. You know what I'm saying? So I always want to, since we're doing a new series, like I said, it's going to cover the lesson as a whole is going to cover the last section of 1 Samuel 14 verses 47 through 52, which I know we've been in for forever. We've been in 1 Samuel 14 for the longest, but we're going to finish it up next week. And then, but the main part of it that we're going to really look at, we're going to really get to look at the disobedience and see what the disobedience brought upon the life of Saul is going to be in chapter 15. But again, tonight we're going to get into some Bible, but it's not going to be that particular chapter tonight. Is that this lesson is based off of that chapter. But it's going some other stuff that I want to take you in. Like I said, I want to kind of do a side-by-side comparison of obedience and disobedience. And I always like to get the good news first. So I'm going to go with obedience first. So the first thing I want to do is kind of whenever I got a particular subject I want to do or a particular word I want to talk about, I like to go to the Webster's 1828 dictionary and get a definition of that word. What does it say about it? Because, you know what I'm saying, that was a really good dictionary to use. A lot of times, especially when you're dealing with like doing lessons or preaching or something like that, it's a really good reference to book to use because it had the true definitions of things, how we truly felt about things, and it's a lot of time it's godly implications in the definitions that they give. And since I'm doing a godly lesson, I always like it kind of helps me out with my lesson, give me little cliff notes and give me little ideas as I read through them definitions. So the first one I want to look at is obedience. We're going to look at obedience first because, again, I like to go with the good first. I like to give the good news before I give the bad news. I've always liked that. You know, somebody come to me like, I got good news or bad news, tell me the good news first. You know what I'm saying? It kind of helps me absorb the bad news a little bit better, so to speak. So, again, what I did, I went to I actually got the app on my phone for the Webster's 1828 dictionary. So I went to the Webster's 1828 dictionary and I looked up what is the definition of obedience. And again, a lot of times it'll give you like a general definition, but it also kind of give you a biblical definition or standpoint as well. And that's why I like to use the 1828. So if you go to the Webster's 1828 and you look up the word obedience, it has several different layers to it, actually. It has like 4 or 5 different layers to what obedience is. And I'm going to read, I kind of wrote them down, jotted them down, and I'm going to read through them and kind of give you some ideas as it pertains to this lesson on obedience. So the first part, it says, the first layer of obedience, it says compliance with a command, prohibition or known law, and rule of duty prescribed. So again, it says compliance with a command, prohibition, or known law, and rule of duty prescribed. In other words, you know the rules. You know the rules. You know what you should do. You know what you shouldn't do. Being compliant to those things. You know what I'm saying? In other words, what it's saying when I read that, it's saying, our book, of course, you're a Christian, you call yourself a Christian, or you're looking to have a relationship with God. It's going to be impossible for you to do that without the Bible. You know, it's going to be impossible you do that because the Bible gives you those commands. It gives you those prohibitions. It gives you those known laws and rules that you're supposed to be in compliance with. How are you going to know how to be in compliance if you don't have the rule book? And that's what the Bible is a collection of stories and rules and things that we should do. And again, I know I said stories and rules and commands that it is, but I'm gonna help you understand, and that's the point of this lesson, to help you understand why these rules are in place, to help you understand why these commands are in place, and why it's important for us to follow these rules and follow these commands. So again, basically what they're saying, compliance with a command, prohibition or known law and rule of duty prescribed. In other words, saying get into your Bible and not just be readers of the word, but be doers of the word. And a lot of times, that's why we have a lot of problem in our Christian relationship and in our relationship with God, because a lot of times we might be hearers of the word, we might even be readers of the word, but rarely are people doers of the word. That's why you see a lot of times. I know I was talking to a friend of mine. He would have some issues, with his brother, and he's like, man, my brother say he's saved, but he's doing this and that. And he's just saying to me like he's going the opposite way. And I told him, he said, what can I do? What do you think? And I told him, I said, I can't judge him, bro. Like, I mean, based on what you're saying, like, if I was a judge and based on what you're saying, then yeah, it sounds like he's going the opposite way. I said, we got to understand, only God knows his heart. And we get in trouble if we try to decipher out what he would really saved or not based on his actions. God knows his heart, kind of thing. I said, but it sounded to me like if he is saved, the problem is, yes, he knows the word, and that would say his brother knows the Bible, can quote the Bible and all that. I'm like, but there's a difference between knowing the word and reading the word and being a doer of the word. And that's what a lot of us are in our Christian relationship. We know the word, we hear the word, we see the word. I mean, even on Facebook, even though we got all the mess that's on it, you still get some people that quote the Bible there now and again and put some Bible quotes up, and then they'll put some obscene up, but that's neither here and there. But for the most part, living in America. Now I can see in other foreign lands where the Bible is heavily restricted or even prohibited, not knowing. But in America, you really have no excuse to not know the Bible other than you just didn't want to know or you just choosing not to, because it's everywhere and it's readily available. I mean, heck, you can have it on your phone. It's everywhere. You know what I'm saying? But so a lot of us, it's hard to be living in America and not know the word or not know of the word or not know, kind of have at least a general idea of what the word wants you to do and not to do. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of times the obedience, that's what it says. So that's a lot of times, that's what it's saying. The first level of layer of obedience is being compliant with the command, prohibition, or known law and rule of duty prescribed. So, so you know what you need to be doing and you know what you shouldn't be doing, do those things. So then the second layer of the definition of obedience, it says the performance of what is required or enjoined by authority, or the abstaining from what is prohibited in compliance with the command or prohibition. So again, basically what they're saying, accepting the do's and don'ts. Like I said, the Bible is a rule book, is a book of stories. It got, it's a book of rules and laws and commands, So again, if you read it at all, or you spend any time in it at all, you should know what you're supposed to do and what you're not supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of people, they like to reject the Bible because they're like, well, I don't want some book telling me that I can't have fun. I can't do this. I can't do that. But if you really get into it and you really take the time to read through it and see, because a lot of times, a lot of stuff, a lot like you got an Old Testament where it kind of tells you the do's and don'ts and don't do this, don't do that. But if you know what I'm saying, if you can spend enough time and if you don't just give up because of the Old Testament telling you all these do's and don'ts, and you actually read through the Bible, you'll see where when the people did those things that the Bible said not to do, it didn't turn out good for them. And you'll also be able to see that when people did do the things that the Bible said they should do, it did turn out good for them. So again, when they was obedient, you'll be able to see that, okay, the Bible in the first few books, it said, gave all these laws, regulations, and rules and said, don't do this, don't do that. Yes. But then as they start going through the stories and you're looking at the lives of these people, and you see the people that was obedient and followed those laws, they ended up with good lives. They had blessings in their life. And you'll see with the people that didn't follow those laws and regulations, they end up having terrible time. They end up having a bad life. So again, yes, it's do's and don'ts, but there's reasons to those do's. There's reasons to those don'ts. And part of being obedient is being able to accept those do's and don'ts. Accept that you shouldn't do this, or accept that you should do that, and do your best to do those things or not do those things. So that's a second layer of obedience. And then a third layer of obedience is to constitute obedience, the act or forbearance of, to constitute obedience, the act or forbearance to act must be in submission to authority. The command must be known to the person, and his compliance must be in consequent. I'm butchering this. I'm sorry, y'all. Let me start again. To constitute obedience, the act or forbearance to act must be in submission to authority. The command must be known to the person, and his compliance must be in consequence of it, or it is not obedience. In other words, you know what I'm saying? If you know what you're supposed to be doing and you do it, then that's obedience. You know what I'm saying? But if you don't know, because a lot of people, I got a couple people in my ministry that are special needs, and for the longest I worked at, I don't know the political correct term. When I worked there, they called it a place for mental retardation. So I work with mental retarded people. I don't spend time getting the political correctness and all that. But, you know what I'm saying? So a lot of people are like, well, what about them? And that's the greatness of God. That's the glory of God. God holds you, and that's basically what this is saying. He holds you accountable for what he knows you know. If you knew better not to do this, or you knew better that you should do this and you do it, then you know what I'm saying? If you knew not to do it and you didn't do it, then that's obedience. If you knew you should do it and you did do it, that's obedience. But if you didn't know, then it's not disobedience because you didn't know. He holds you accountable for what you know. You know what I'm saying? So he said that the command must be known to the person, and his compliance, because he knew it, it must be in consequence of it, or it's not in obedience. You see, it's not obedience. So because he knew it and he did it, that's obedience. So in other words, it is something y'all heard me. I'm pretty sure if you watched any of my sermons, you've heard me say this before. And I've said it all the time. I tell my kids all the time. Basically, what this saying is this. You know what I'm saying? I'm summarizing this statement that I've made several times. Obedience. I'm sorry. What I'm gonna say? Oh, life is simple. That's what it is. That's the same. Life is very simple. We make our life complex by the decision, and it's our decisions and our decision-making skills that make our life more complex than what it really has to be. Life is really simple. Life is simple, and this world could be a great world, but it's based upon a concept of doing what you know you're supposed to be doing and not doing what you know you're supposed to be doing. And that's kind of what this definition overall is saying. Doing what you know you're supposed to be doing and not doing. We all, even if you don't have the Bible, we all have the Spirit of God in us. We all have the Spirit of God guides us, wakes us up. It's the reason why we leave. It's the battery in the toy, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? So we all have the Spirit of God. We call it our conscience, but that's the Spirit of God talking to you. So we all know what we should be doing. And we all have a general idea of what we should be doing. And we all have a general idea of what we should be doing. And that's what life is simple, bro. If you know that you should do something, do it. And if you know you shouldn't do it, just don't do it. It's really that simple. But at the same time, it's so freaking hard. Because a lot of times when you do stuff that you know you're not supposed to be doing, is because it's something that you wanted to do. And that's really the struggle. It's not a matter of good, bad, right, or wrong. It's doing what you know you're supposed to be doing and doing what you want to do. And a lot of times, if you're doing what you want to do instead of what you're not supposed to be doing, then you're being disobedient. You're being disobedient to something. Whether, like I said, whether it's God or your parents or your job or your school, your teachers or whatever. If you're doing what you want to do and not doing what you're supposed to be doing, you're being disobedient. And if you're doing what you know you're supposed to be doing, then you're being obedient. And that's really what determines whether you're in the will of God or not as well. If you're doing what you know you're supposed to be doing, then you're in the will of God. If you're not doing the things that you know you're not supposed to be doing, then you're in the will of God. But if you do the opposite, then you're out of the will of God. And that's what it's saying right there. You know what I'm saying? That life is really simple. And I tell people that all the time, life is simple. And again, well, how can I know? You know. You know what I'm saying? That's why when you text that girl, you know what I'm saying, or that dude, you go and erase it because you know you shouldn't be talking to her in the first place. You know what I'm saying? When you go to your DM, you got to go scrub your DMs clean before you go home, just in case your girl get your phone or your guy get your phone, because you know you're not supposed to be talking to those people. So whenever you do something, then you got to do something to cover up what you did. Then guess what? You knew what you were supposed to be doing. You just chose to do what you wanted to do. And see, when you do what you want to do instead of what you're supposed to be doing, then that's disobedience. You know what I'm saying? That's disobedience. And another layer of obedience, that we got to understand too, that I want to bring out this definition brought out. Now, obedience is actually, there's two aspects of it. You got voluntary obedience and you got involuntary obedience. You know what I'm saying? But the thing is, the key to the whether it's voluntary or involuntary, the voluntary obedience alone is what's acceptable to God. See, when you're willingly doing the things that you're supposed to be doing, that's what God accepts. That's where the blessings are at. You see what I'm saying? When you're willing to do it, not because he's throwing lightning bolts at you, so to speak. You know, which you wouldn't do that. You know what I'm saying? But when the obedience may be voluntary or involuntary, and the voluntary obedience alone can be acceptable to God. You know what I'm saying? So what's the difference? Well, you got like for instance, I got a couple examples of what I would think what I consider involuntary obedience. You know, so like example. Like a lot of people I know, graduation just up, and this is why I thought of this example. A lot of high school kids are graduating. I went down to my niece's graduation this past Saturday. They just had the one here in Waverly, so a lot of kids are graduating. So now they're about to start making their decisions on what they can go for their future. And a lot of young men, some young women, more women didn't back in the day, my day, but a lot of young men and some young women are going to make a decision to go to the military. And of course, you know, whatever branch you go to, usually the first, 6 or 7 weeks or so is like, you got to go to boot camp, what they call boot camp. And in boot camp, that's where they basically strip you down and mold and turn you down and mold you, build you back up into what they want you to be, the soldier they want you to be. And then, you know what I'm saying? And in those camps, you have what? A drill sergeant, a drill instructor. And you have to do what that drill instructor say do or else. You know what I'm saying? It ain't no, you know what I'm saying? You supposed to get up at 5. Now I'm gonna get up at 5:30. You don't have that option. If the drill sergeant say get up at 5, you get up at 5. He say get up at 4, you get up at 4. He say don't go to bed, you don't go to bed. You know, and anybody that's been in the military know exactly what I'm talking about. You know, so that's you're being obedient. But you being obedient is involuntary. You know what I'm saying? If you want to get to sleep to 6, but you get up at 5, you know what I'm saying? Yes, you being obedient. You got up at 5, but you wanted to have to sleep at 6. That was what you really wanted to do, but you got up at 5 because the drill instructor told you to get up at 5. See, that's involuntary obedience. You know, and some people, they don't mind it. They get up early, they don't mind it. But I'm just talking about those ones that don't want to get up, but they get up because the drill instructor made them get up. See, that's involuntary. They were forced to do that because of the situation, the authority over them got them in a position where they have to do that, or they face some kind of punishment, or they can even get kicked out if they disobedient too many times, court martial and things of that nature. Another example of, involuntary disobedience, and I deal with this all the time. We have to follow your parents' orders. You know what I'm saying? Give your kids the follow. I had to get on my daughter today about cleaning the kitchen up. You know, she didn't want to do it, but I told her to get her butt in there and get it done. You know what I'm saying? Eventually she gave into it, but I can guarantee you it wasn't voluntary. You know what I'm saying? It was definitely some involuntary obedience. She did it, but I had to yell at her a couple of times and I had to get on her butt a couple of times. She eventually got in and do it. See, that's involuntary. You know what I'm saying? That's involuntary, but following your parents' order. And if you live in your parents' house and up until you 18 and you ain't paying no rent, then you got to do it. Well, they can possibly, you know what I'm saying, especially if you're 18, and once you get 18, you stay at your parents' house and you ain't paying no rent, then you got to do it, and they might kick your butt out on the street. So, you're going to do it. You're going to be, parents say do something, you're going to do it. But again, that's not violent. It's involuntary. You're doing it because you have to, because you're in a situation that forces you to have to listen to what this person say because you're on their roof. You know what I'm saying? Well, I know a lot of parents these days, they don't believe in that, but I know that in my grandma's house, if you stayed in her house, you did what she said. It wasn't no question. You know what I'm saying? She was judge, juror, and all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Did what she said. But that's another example of involuntary. And one more, I got another one wrote down. Let's say you end up, something happened, Lord forbid, you end up in prison somewhere. Then guess what? When you go there, there's certain rules. There's certain things you got to do. You got to get up at a certain time. You got to go cut lights out at a certain time. You got to eat at a certain time. They control everything you do. So again, if you want to stay out of the hole or keep from getting any kind of worse punishment, then you're going to do what they do, but it's involuntary. You're not doing it because you want to do it. You're not doing it because you want to be there. You're doing it because you did something. You've already been disobedient at some point and you ended up there. So now you got to listen to what the CEOs say. So this you got to understand. So there's two aspects of obedience. You got the voluntary and involuntary. You know what I'm saying? And the cool thing about God's commands that makes it so unique is they can actually be both. No, God's commands can be both. You know what I'm saying? But the ones that are acceptable are the ones that are voluntary. You know what I'm saying? But when God gives commands, they're both. They're voluntary and or involuntary. You know what I'm saying? You can do them. You can do them or you can do them. That's really, but you know what I'm saying? You can do them, but you can do it because I know there's a verse. He's like, the Lord, you know what I'm saying? Of course, the Bible says, talks about tithing and things of that nature. And then it's a verse that the Lord loves a cheerful giver. You know what I'm saying? So it's one thing to give your tithes begrudgingly. Here go to my 10% because God said do it. It's not like, man, I'm glad that I got this 10% to give. You know what I'm saying? You give it happily. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes, and I ain't gonna lie, sometimes I do it begrudgingly. Sometimes I don't. You know what I'm saying? Depends on the situation going on. But that's the cool thing about God is his commands can be voluntary or involuntary. And you got to understand, like, why is it that, you know what I'm saying? Because you would think with him being God, it should just be like, hey, I said do it. You know what I'm saying? I said do it. And there's a lot of people that are unsaved that I come across all the time that are unsaved because they got the ability to make decisions they don't want to be saved. You know what I'm saying? So why is it an option that we can be obedient or disobedient to God's commands? It shouldn't be an option because like this God, he created us, gave us life, and it sounds, seems silly, and it seems like, man, it just don't make sense. Like if I was God, and we all think if I was God, I just make you do whatever I want you to do, and that sounds good, but see, that goes against God's nature. That goes against why he gave us free will. You see what I'm saying? God doesn't want to have to force you to do what you know you should be doing. He don't want you to force. He don't want to force you to do the things that you know you should be doing. He wants you to do it on your own. You see what I'm saying? He wants you to do it. That's why he gave us that gift, and what I call that gift and that curse of free will. You know what I'm saying? The gift and that curse of free will determined. That's why it makes his commands both involuntary and voluntary, because we have free will. We can decide that we're going to do it, or if we want to do it, we can do it. If we don't want to do it, we don't have to. You know what I'm saying? He's not going to force us to. Now, of course, there's going to be some consequences for your actions, but he don't force you to. You still have the freedom to choose which path that you're going to go down, whether you're going to go in voluntary and do what you know you're supposed to be doing, or you're going to do it involuntarily, but eventually you're going to do what God wants you to do anyway. You know what I'm saying? So it's better to go ahead and volunteer, but if you want to be involuntary, you know what I'm saying, you still have that option. And that's the uniqueness about God's command. You know, so you still had an option. It's better to go ahead and volunteer and do it. But if you do it begrudgingly or whatever, you still had an option. And you know what I'm saying? But why did he do that? Why is he make it like that? Because it's God's way of testing to see if you really love him. And that's what a lot of people don't realize. And like I said, that's why I want to do this lesson, to kind of show you some things and help y'all look at obedience and disobedience in a kind of a different light. See, the reason why we have free will, the reason why he gives us an option of whether we want to obey him or not, is because it's his way of testing us. It's his way of seeing if we really love him. You know what I'm saying? It's the way of seeing, do we truly love him or not? You know what I'm saying? It's the way of seeing that if we fully trust in him or not. By having that giving us that free will. Because if you fully trust him and you fully love him, when he tells you to do something, when you read his word say do this or don't do this, you're going to comply with it because you love him and you trust him. You know he told you to do those things because you trust him enough to know that if you do those things or don't do those things, it's going to work out best for you because you trust him enough to know that he has your best interest at heart. You know what I'm saying? So there's free will. That's what free will, people don't realize that free will, we're like, hey, free will, we can do what we want to. And we don't realize that free will is what putting us to the test. You know what I'm saying? It's putting us to the test. And I can prove it to you because if you go over to John chapter 15, John chapter 15, and I've quoted it before. Every time I talk about obedience, I always bring these verses up because this is Jesus talking. And like I said, I want to illustrate and show y'all why it's so important to give in to the obedience and be obedient. Because this is Jesus talking here over in John chapter 15, verses 9 and 10. He says this, he said, I love you even as the Father has loved me. Remain in my love. And when you obey me, so when you're obedient, you remain in my love, just as I obey my Father and remain in his love. So see, your obedience to his commands, your obedience to, you know what I'm saying, if he say don't do something, you being obedient to it, or he tell you do something, you being obedient to it, it shows God that you really do love him. You see what I'm saying? And honestly, it's going to be hard to be obedient if you don't really love him. So your ability to be obedient to God really it shows your level of love for God. If it's hard for you to be obedient to the word of God, it's hard for you to not do those things that he say not to do, or it's hard for you to do those things that he say to do, then you don't have much love for him. And that's not me judging you. That's just truth. You know what I'm saying? He just said, if you obey me, then you remain in my love. Just like I obeyed the Father. Because you remember Jesus didn't want to, he didn't want to go on that cross. You remember? You remember before the cross came up, he knew what was about to happen. Like, Father, take this away from me. He said, but not my will, yours be done. You know what I'm saying? He said, I don't want to do it. You know what I'm saying? So really, I can say that was kind of involuntary. He's like, I really don't want to do it. But because I know this is what got to be done, I'm going to do it. You see what I'm saying? So, but again, that's what I'm saying. That's what the free will does. It's God's way of testing to see, do we really love him? Do we really trust him? You know what I'm saying? And would go down a few more verses. Another thing it does, it shows you if you really his friend. Because you go down to verse 12 through the first half of first part of 16, it says this. Just go down a couple more verses. It says, I command you to love each other in the same way that I love you. And here's how to measure it. The greatest love is shown when people lay down their lives for their friends. And you, here you go, you are my friend if you obey me. So see, your relationship and your friendship with God is contingent upon you being obedient. You see what I'm saying? Your love for God and God's measurement of your love for him is contingent upon you being obedient. That's why obedience is so important. He says, you are my friends if you obey. This is Jesus himself talking. He said, you are my friends if you obey me. I no longer call you servants because a master doesn't confide in his servants. Now you are my friends since I have told you everything the Father told me. So see, and that's the word. That's what the Bible does. Everything that God has told all the words of God that he's given to his prophets. And of course, Jesus himself is right here in this book. So if you can obey it, then it shows God that you really love him and that you're really his friend. He said, I have told you everything the Father told me. And then he makes this statement, he said, you didn't choose me, I chose you. So again, he said, you didn't choose me, I chose you. So now that he's chosen you, and if you're saved, then he's chosen you. He chose you to be saved. He sent that faithful servant by to share that gospel with you, or he sent that pastor up there to deliver that sermon that morning that got you under conviction, that made you accept, that gave you to want to accept him as Savior. However it happened, he chose you. He chose you, and now that he's chose you, now you got to choose him. And the way you show him that you're choosing him is by being obedient. You know what I'm saying? Like, I chose you. So when you voluntarily do, and not begrudgingly, but you voluntarily give in to the commands and obey the commands, then it shows you that, man, he made a good choice. And I'm hoping when he look at me like, man, I made a good choice when I chose old John, he turned out all right. He turned out all right. I hope he say that. He might be like, oh, that boy, that knucklehead. But, I do my best. And that's why I'm sharing this with y'all, because I want y'all to do your best as well. And it's hard. It's not easy. This is not an easy task. It's simple. It's simple. It should be easy. But again, a lot of times doing what we're supposed to do goes against doing what we want to do. And a lot of times we give into our flesh, so we end up doing what we want to do, and it keeps us from doing what we're supposed to be doing. So you see, that's why you got to understand the importance of that voluntary obedience, because that's where the blessings come in. You know what I'm saying? That's when you voluntarily be in obedience. That's how you get the blessing. That's where you get the grace. You know what I'm saying? The mercy is going to come there because God loves us so much. He's so merciful to us. So we should all be burning in hell, but he wakes us up every day and gives us another chance to get it right. You know what I'm saying? So the mercy is there, but if you want the blessings, you know what I'm saying? That's why I say obedience, obedience and blessings. If you want the blessings, then that comes from that voluntary obedience. You know what I'm saying? That's where you get the joy of the Lord in your heart, that joy in your life. A lot of people are on so many antidepressants. They on so many anxiety medicine and all that because they don't have the joy of the Lord in their heart. That's why they got to drink to go out and have a good time. That's why they got to smoke before they go out so they can have a good time, because they don't have the joy of the Lord in their heart. I gave all this stuff up. It's been 8 years. I don't know how long it's been since I stopped drinking, but I know it's been at least 8 years since I stopped smoking. Why? Because I don't need it no more. I don't need that to deal with my problems anymore. I let God deal with my problems. You know what I'm saying? And when I'm feeling down, I just think about the good stuff that he's done for me. And again, it took some time to get here. I'm not perfect or nothing like that. I'm not no mighty than y'all kind of thing. It took some time to get here, but it took some me working on my relationship with the Lord, spending time with the Lord to get to where I'm at. But see, if you love the Lord and you obey his commands, it'll help you get there. You know what I'm saying? Because matter of fact, right, still in John, all this stuff is in John. If you go, I skipped over verse 11 because he said this. He said, no, I'm going to go back to 10. He said, when you obey me, you remain in my love, just as I obey my Father and remain in his love. I have told you this so that you will be filled with my joy. Yes, your joy will overflow. You see what I'm saying? See that joy in the Lord, that's one of the blessings that comes from obedience. And you're only going to get it if you're not obedient, you're not going to have that joy in your life. You know what I'm saying? The people that are rebels and people that are always doing stuff that they're not supposed to be doing, they look like they're having fun, but man, there's some miserable people. They don't really have joy in their life. That's why that's why they got to go out and drink even more. That's why they got to go out and smoke even more. That's why they got to go out and do even more drugs. That's why they got to go out and hook up with even more women or even more dudes because they don't have that joy in there. You know what I'm saying? But see, that joy is that blessing that comes from obedience. You know what I'm saying? That's also where you get that peace. Over in Philippians chapter 4, verse 7, it talks about a peace that passes all understanding. See, that comes from being obedient. That's one of the joys of that voluntary obedience, being able to do the things that you know God wants you to do, being able to go to the place you know God wants you to go, being able to be around the people that God wants you to be around. See, that comes, that peace that passes all understanding that it talks about in Philippians chapter 4, verse 7. See, that comes from obedience. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to get there. So, because if you look at, and you see it when you look at, go through, I don't want to say the Bible is stories and there's the things, stories and rules and commands. And when you look through it, you see all, like I said, you see the front part, you see all the rules and commands. But then when you look at the service of God and you see them applying these rules and commands to their life, you see them being obedient. You can see the comparison of what happened to them when they were obedient and what happened to them when they wasn't obedient. You know what I'm saying? We look at Abraham. You remember Abraham, and I bring him up a lot because he was a faithful man and he was very obedient to the will of God. You know what I'm saying? And we see what the Lord called him. This dude was 80 something. I think he was 80, 90, between 80 and 90 years old, pretty settled. You know, that's after retirement. No, these days, that's after retirement. You kind of settled in where you're going to be at. And God is kind of, hey, man, take up and leave your family and everything you've known behind. And you go to this place that you've never been before. And I'm not going to even tell you where you're going. Just get up and start walking and I'll show you when you get there. And if you read, that's exactly what he says. Just get up and start walking and I'll show you where you need to go. He just gave him a general direction. And what happened? Abraham went. God told him to get up and go, and he went. He left everything he known behind, left his family behind, other than his wife and the stuff that he owned. But his dad and everybody else, all the other relatives, left him behind, and went to this foreign land that he had no idea about. Why? Because God told him to go there. And then later on, when he was told to sacrifice his beloved son, he did. He was going to do it. He was going to do it. God stopped him. You know what I'm saying? But again, God was testing his obedience. You know what I'm saying? He knew how much he loved his son. He said, matter of fact, when he told, he said, I know you love your son. I know how much you love your son. You know what I'm saying? But I want to see if you love me more than you love your son. I'm going to test your obedience. Do you trust me? You know what I'm saying? He said, so go sacrifice him. And if you read it, when Abraham, he said, the way he was thinking, like, man, I trust God. I know that even if God do kill him, he can raise him up. He had that much trust in God. He had that much faith in God. He had that much love for God. So that's why when he went to do it, God was like, whoa, don't do it. Don't do it. I'm just trying to see. I'm just trying to test your obedience, seeing if you're going to voluntarily do it. And I see you. And he said, so now I'm going to bless you. You see what I'm saying? And then we saw how he got blessed. He got blessed. You know what I'm saying? Look how blessed he was. He was so blessed that he got to be the father of the longest lasting nation in history. All stem from that man and him being obedient. Him following the will that God, being willing to follow the will that God had for his life. He couldn't understand it because God gave him the child, told him the child was going to be the one that all the blessings and promises were going to come through, and then tell him to kill him. He didn't understand it, but he voluntarily did it, and he was blessed. He became the father of one of the longest lasting nations in history. You know what I'm saying? Even a little bit later, he had a situation where an army came in. and killed, destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, took his nephew and his house, and he had the strength and the ability to just take some nigga that was laying around his house, 200-300 dudes laying around his house, and go out and beat 5 kings, the army of 5 kings. It was either 5 or 4. I think it was 4. It might have been 4. But it was 4 or 5 kings. I get it confused because it was a war between Sodom and Gomorrah and some other kings. So it was like 4 kings against 5. And I can't remember which the bigger army won or whatever. But either way it go, whichever army won, Abraham just took some dudes that was in his house and went out and he beat them and brought his nephew and all the people back. Why? Because he was blessed. Because he was obedient. You know what I'm saying? That's one of the blessings that come with obedience. We're going to get into that a little later, but that's one of the blessings that comes with obedience. You know what I'm saying? And then, you know what I'm saying, you got to understand not only the biggest blessing came, the fact that the living Father, the living God himself decided this man was so obedient that the God himself came down to earth through this man's bloodline. I mean, what's a bigger flex than that? You know what I'm saying? The God came through one of your children. You see what I'm saying? That because, and it all stem from him being obedient. And that's why I say obedience is so important. That's why I wanted to focus on it, because we don't realize what we're missing out on by being disobedient. Because even Gentile, you're like, well, I'm a Gentile. There was the Israelites and the Jews, and God loved them. So even the Gentiles, when they were obedient, got blessed. You know what I'm saying? There was a situation where there was this Syrian named Naaman, and he was like the captain of an army of the Syrian army or something like that. And they actually had defeated the Israelites, and they had some Israelite captives in his house, working in his house. And he had, you know what I'm saying, he was a leper. He was a great man, but he was a leper. So, of course, that's like a death sentence back then. And not only that, it's lonely because nobody wants to be around you. It's like when AIDS first came out. You didn't want to be around nobody with AIDS because, there was a death sentence. There was no cure for it. So, you know what I'm saying? So this one young captive he had in his house, she was like, man, I wish he'd go see the man of God. If he go see the man of God can cure him for that. And, and I'm long story short, he went to saw the man of God. And he thought that, it was Elisha, and he thought Elisha would come out and say something, do some mighty act and do, call down heaven and lightning from heaven and all that. And all Elisha told was like, hey, go wash in the Jordan River. Go dip yourself. I think he told him to do it 7 times. Go dip yourself 7 times in the Jordan River. You'll be all right. And he didn't even go out and look at him. He didn't even go out and meet him. He just said, go dip yourself. He sent this servant out. He said, sent this message out. Hey, go dip yourself 7 times. You'll be all right. And Naaman got upset. You know what I'm saying? He left upset like, man, I thought he was going to do something spectacular. He going to do that. And so why I got to go to the Jordan River? The rivers in Syria is way better than these rivers. Why I got to go to that crappy river? And then luckily for Naaman, he had somebody wise in his little entourage said, look, man, like if he told you to go do some mighty thing, would you not have done it? He said, so when he tell you to go do this little thing, why not just be obedient? Why just go do this little thing and see what happens? And Naaman listened to him, and he went and dipped it seven times. And when he came back up, it said his skin was just as a baby skin. Because, with leprosy, that's what it does. It basically rots your skin. You know what I'm saying? Eventually, basically just eats you up until you eventually die from the illness that you're going through. You know what I'm saying? He said, but when he went and was obedient, he went and dipped himself 7 times, came back up, and his skin was just like new, just like a baby skin. You see what I'm saying? So even the Gentiles, when they're obedient to the words that come from God, they get blessed. But then, on the flip side of that, let's look at Pharaoh. You know what I'm saying? Now, Pharaoh was obedient eventually. Now, these guys are voluntary obedience. But then you got Pharaoh. He was obedient, but it was involuntary. You know what I'm saying? It was involuntary. And look what he went through. Look what happened to him and his nation and all his nation. His nation was basically destroyed because he refused to be obedient. The Lord gave him a direct, let my people go. He didn't want to do it. You know what I'm saying? So what happened? The Lord sent all the plagues, sent the frogs and the flies and the gnats and the lice and the cattle died. I mean, it was all kind of stuff that went on. And then eventually the big one happened where the firstborn of the nation of Egypt, every firstborn in the nation died. You know what I'm saying? All that happened because he wouldn't just volunteer to do it. The first time the Lord told him to let the people go, had he let the people go, then he would have been fine. But eventually he gave in, but look at the price he had to pay. So look what he had to go through. So again, eventually we give in to God. The God's, y'all know, I gave my life to God 20 years ago, and I wrote a song called God's Will. And you know what I'm saying? The chorus go, God's will. It might be just to rob and kill. God's will. It might be just to keep it real. God's will. It don't matter if you're on bottom or top. You're going to do God's will whether you like it or not. So either way it go, and I'm not saying God is forcing you to do his will, but either way it go, whatever decision you make, God is going to use that in his will. You know what I'm saying? So though I say whether you do his will voluntarily or involuntarily, you're still going to be used by God. You're still going to be a part of his will. But it benefits you more if you just do it involuntarily. Had Pharaoh just went on and gave in to the will in the beginning, his nation could have been spared. You know what I'm saying? He wouldn't have to go through what he went through. You know what I'm saying? So the point is, there's two different kinds, and it's better to be voluntarily, because that's where the blessings come from. That's when you voluntarily, you know what you're supposed to do. God don't have to, like he don't have to send the plagues on you to get you to do what you know you're supposed to be doing. Then it shows you that God, you really love God. It shows God that you really are his friend. You know what I'm saying? And I think more of us would be, that's why I want to do this lesson, because I'm hoping to change your perception on obedience, disobedience, because I believe majority of us, most of us, would be more obedient if we really understood the benefits that come from it. You know what I'm saying? It's not just for God. Yes, God benefits off it. He gets glory. When you're doing the stuff you know you're supposed to be doing, he gets the glory. When you stepping away from the stuff you're not supposed to be doing, he gets the glory. Yes, of course he does. But we don't realize we benefit from it as well. You know what I'm saying? It's not just God that benefits from us being obedient. We also ourselves benefit from our own obedience. You know what I'm saying? And I've talked about it. You know what I'm saying? Y'all heard me talk about it before. Finding the promises of God. I did it. I think it was a couple of lessons on the last couple of series I've done. But I'm talking about standing on the promises of God, found these promises in the Bible, and, you know what I'm saying, kind of holding God's feet to the fire kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? And all the blessings that come from these promises, if you find these promises, the blessing you can get. You know what I'm saying? But you got to understand something. I've said this before. All these promises are contingent upon us being voluntarily obedient. You know what I'm saying? Every single promise that he's given throughout the Bible, everything he told us to do, everything he said we should do, not do, you know what I'm saying? It always, like, whenever he's talking about these blessings, he said, I will heal your land. And we're going to kind of get into it a little bit. I'm going to end it with the verse where Moses, he kind of puts it perfect. He kind of sums everything up. I'm trying to tell y'all tonight. But, as he talks about, you know what I'm saying? I heal your land. I do this. And if you're obedient, you know what I'm saying? You won't have to worry about your enemies. If you're obedient, you won't have to worry about food. If you're obedient, you won't have to worry about this and that and that. It's all based on us being obedient. You know what I'm saying? Again, so that's why I look forward to doing this series and bringing this lesson on obedience out. Like, it's been a while. I've done a few of them on it, but I think it's been a while. So I actually had a lesson that was dedicated to obedience and disobedience. Now, I've had some lessons where the one of the points was about being obedient, but it's been a little while, a little bit, maybe a couple of years since I've had an actual lesson on obedience and disobedience. And that's why, you know what I'm saying, I was excited about doing this tonight for those of y'all that hadn't seen the older lessons that I did. Because, I've got a few more people just started watching over the last couple of years. Because I've been out there beating the pavement, and the Lord just been bringing them to me. You know what I'm saying? So I'm hoping, I was excited about doing this lesson so you can see the importance of the obedience. You can see how important it is to do the things that you know you're supposed to be doing. So hopefully, as we look and compare obedience and disobedience, it'll give you a different perspective on why being obedience is so essential. You know what I'm saying? It's so essential to your well-being, and it's so essential to you having the ability to be able to complete the will that God has for your life. And you got to understand, it's all about you making that decision whether you're going to be obedient or disobedient. You know what I'm saying? But obedience, like I said, obedience is the key. Obedience is where the blessings come from, is where the peace come from, is where the joy come from. All those things that we want to like, that comes from obedience. You know what I'm saying? So I'm hoping as we go through these lessons and I compare the two, you will see that, and the Lord will touch your heart and give you the want to be more obedient. Now, that was obedience. That was a good one. So now let's get into the other one. Let's get into disobedience. You know what I'm saying? Let's look at now. I've been talking a little bit about obedience. Like I said, I didn't get deep into it, but this is just kind of like an overview as an intro. So I've been talking about obedience and the blessings that come from it. So now let's look at disobedience and the curses that it brings. So once again, I go back to my nifty little app and I looked up disobedience. You know what I'm saying? The Webster's 1828 dictionary, and I looked up disobedience. What is disobedience? What kind of things that it brings? You know what I'm saying? And disobedience, because it got a couple of different, and it's weird because the definition for disobedience wasn't as big. It wasn't as, because y'all saw me, I got choked up a little bit reading some little part of the definition. It sounds so good and so intelligent, but disobedience was just like, man, it wasn't much there. You know what I'm saying? So disobedience, the first layer of it, it says disobedient is a neglect or refusal to obey. In other words, being hard-headed. Or in Pharaoh's case, like we were talking about being hard-hearted. But being hard-headed. You know what I'm saying? Being hard-headed, that's what disobedience, being hard-headed. People, you know what I'm saying, you hear it all the time, like, that kid's so hard-headed, or boy, you so hard-headed. You know what I'm saying? My grandma used to say it all the time, you so hard-headed. And it was, they had to say, and I actually heard it in a song here today, and it made me think of this, and I wrote it here. But my girl used to have this saying, she was like, you know, you so hard-headed. She would tell me, either me, or because I was hard-headed when I was little, or my cousin, and she always make the statement, she'd say something about being hard-headed. She said, why you being so hard-headed? Because you know, a hard head make a soft bottom. I'll just say bottom. She didn't say bottom. She said the A word. But, you know what I'm saying, I got to be professional. Not that I don't curse, but I can't curse on here. I'm trying to be for the Lord. You know what I'm saying? But you always said a hard head make a soft bottom. And I never really understood what a hard head make a soft bottom, what that mean. But basically saying that hard head is going to bring punishment on. You know what I'm saying? So your head might be hard, but that butt is soft. So when that belt come across it, it's going to hurt. You know what I'm saying? That hard head is going to bring that pain into your life. That hard head is going to bring that chaos in your life. It's going to bring that drama into your life. So by you just choosing to be hard-headed, it's making that bottom soft. It's setting you up. It's getting you ready for the punishment that will come from being hard-headed. And the same goes with the Bible. When you're being disobedient, you're setting yourself up. You're setting yourself up to fail. You setting yourself up to have to deal with drama. You set yourself up to have to deal with chaos. You set yourself up to have to always live in strife. You do that. You know what I'm saying? Our decisions is do that. You know, when you decide to be disobedient, that's what you do. You decide to be hard, that's what you do. Another layer of the definition for disobedience, it says a violation of a command or prohibition. You know what I'm saying? It says a violation of a command or prohibition, because we have to realize sin is a direct result of disobedience. Disobedience is always sin. It's not, if you're being disobedient, you're sinning. And it's the bottom line. You know what I'm saying? That's not judging. That's just what it is. Sin, no, when you're being disobedient, you're sin. So it said a violation of a command or prohibition. And if you know sin, that's exactly what sin is. Anybody that I've shared the gospel with, if you're watching this, and I've shared the gospel, what I always tell y'all, the simplest definition of sin. Sin is when you do something you know you're not supposed to be doing, or when you don't do something you know you're supposed to be doing. That's what sin is. So that's what disobedience is. Disobedience is when you do something you know you're not supposed to be doing, or when you don't do something you know you're supposed to be doing. It's the same thing. So the direct result of disobedience is sin. And something you have to understand is sin would not be blessed. You know what I'm saying? With sin would not be blessed. And that's what we got to understand. If you're sinning, you're not going to live a blessed life. If you're constantly sinning, willingly sinning, you're not going to live a blessed life. You're not going to have the best life. You're not going to live a blessed life, definitely, because sin is not going to be blessed. And we're going to see this. That's what, like I said, as we get into 1 Samuel 14, that's what I plan to do last week. Actually get into some of the things that Saul did in 14 and 15 that shows this comparison between disobedience and obedience. But as we go through this and we look at the life of Saul and look at some of his actions, we're going to see how that sin is not going to be blessed. And we kind of see it a little bit, because y'all remember when I did the lesson last week in the Faith Over Victory. I can't remember which one it was, but we saw where Saul made this stupid vow, and he said that nobody can eat until all his enemies was destroyed. And you remember the guys, they had been fighting and stuff all day, so they was all starving. And and Jonathan wasn't with them, so he didn't hear it. So he stuck his staff in some honey and just got a little piece of honey to make himself feel better. You know what I'm saying? Because he was starving. Everybody was starving. And of course, they end up, some went wrong and then things started not to kind of go good for him. And Saul was like, hey, something's wrong here. And he went to ask the Lord, and the Lord wouldn't answer him. You see what I'm saying? Why? Because even though Jonathan didn't do it on purpose, but Jonathan was sinning because he disobeyed. He didn't hear the command. You know what I'm saying? He didn't hear the command. He wasn't there to hear it. But still, a vow was made. It was made in front of God, and God was holding Jonathan accountable for it. And so when Saul went to ask God, like, what's going on? He said, man, something's going on. And he said, God wouldn't answer him. And we're going to see another situation where he's going to make a sacrifice. He's going to be disobedient. He's going to make a sacrifice that he wasn't supposed to be making, and God is not going to answer him. You see what I'm saying? So we kind of see it, but we're going to see it a little bit more as we get into the lesson. We're going to see it a little bit more. But you got to understand, God is not going to bless sin. And so if you're being disobedient, that's why you're going to have the problems in your life. That's why you're going to have the troubles in your life, because God is not going to bless disobedience. He's not going to bless sin. You know what I'm saying? I had a couple times in my ministry where it was people came to me for relationship advice, and they was wondering why their relationship was going the wrong way, like why they was having so many problems in this relationship. They like, and both of them was like, I really care about this person, but it's just, you know what I'm saying, it's just not going good. And the first one, I remember this lady, and she was one of the first people to come to one of my first my Lost Sheep ministry meetings. She was one of the first ones, and matter of fact, it was the first meeting. Now I think about it, it was the very first meeting I had, which we get ready to celebrate 9 years here next month. July will be the first week of July. Will be 9 years since the Lost Sheep ministry got started. Boy, I swear time goes fast. But anyway, so I remember it was the very first meeting, and after the meeting, we had a great meeting. Everything was good, and I remember she talked to me, and she was just having some problem with her in the relationship she was in. And you know what I'm saying? So when I got to talking to her, I got the details, turns out she was married, and she left her husband to be with this other guy, and the things weren't going right with this guy that she was with. And I said, what do you expect? Like, you're married, and you're still married to this other guy, and you're shacking up with this other one? Like, God ain't going to bless that. That's why you're having a problem. God is not going to bless that. And it's so crazy that we've gotten so far away from God. Our society has gotten so even so far away from God that we expect God to bless us even when we're doing stuff we're not supposed to be doing. Even when we're being disobedient, we expect God to still bless us even though we know we're being disobedient. And that's what I told her. I said, I won't be surprised it don't last much longer. Like, God is not going to bless that. I don't know how you expecting God to bless that knowing you're doing something you're not supposed to be doing. You're married and you're shacking up with another man that's not your husband. That's not going to be blessed. That's why you're having problems. You know what I'm saying? And of course, a little bit later, they had broke up. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't going to be blessed because God wasn't in it, because it was built on disobedience. And another lady, she had a relationship problem. And in this situation, and like I said, I got homosexual friends. I know I talk about homosexuals and homosexuality, and that's because I got to preach what the words say. You know what I'm saying? But I still have homosexual friends that's close enough that we so close that they would come to me for relationship advice. And, and I remember this one, she came and kind of the same situation, like, man, I care about this girl. And she was a female. She's like, I care about this girl and love this girl. He's like, man, it's just so toxic. We always fighting. And, you know what I'm saying? We can, no matter what I do, it don't seem to go right. And I just don't understand what's going on. And it's like, what did you say? So I had to mess with her, because me and her, we was tight. We messed with each other. She messed with me about being a crooked preacher, and I messed with her about being gay. I said, you asking my advice on this? And she said, yeah, I already know what you're going to say. I said, well, first of all, you're not supposed to be in a relationship with a woman. I said, let's just get the elephant out of the room. I'm like, you're not supposed to be with another woman. I mean, clearly, because she was Christian woman. And I'm like, clearly, that's very clear in the Bible. There's a lot of stuff in the Bible that you can kind of debate. That ain't one of them. You're not supposed to be in a relationship in the first place. So how are you expecting God to bless something that's not supposed to, that he calls an abomination? I said, so you got to get that right. And she was actually, bisexual, but, the relationship she was in at the time was with this woman. And she was wondering why it was such a horrible relationship, why I'm going wrong. And I'm like, God is not going to bless sin. It clearly states in the Bible that two women ain't supposed to be together. There's no relationship or marriage. Actually, not only you're not doing it, you're not married, but you know what I'm saying, you two women, and you know what I'm saying. So I went through the whole thing, but I'm like, you know what I'm saying. So God is not going to bless that. Like, first of all, you shouldn't be having a physical relationship with anybody that you're not married to, and you shouldn't be having a physical relationship with women. So that goes on with a woman. So that's two strikes right there. So how can you expect their relationship to thrive when it's built on disobedience and it's built on sin? You see what I'm saying? So, and that's what I told her. And I want to say that's the indication of how far in society we've gotten, that where we think we can live the way we want to live and do what we want to do, and yet we still expect God to bless us in our disobedience, and it's not going to happen. Disobedience is not going to bring blessings. It's not going to bring that joy. It's not going to bring that peace. All it's going to bring is death and destruction. It says the wages of sin is death. And like I say, anytime you're disobedient, you're sinning. So that's all disobedience is going to bring. It's not going to bring the peace and the love and the joy and the friendship of God. No, it's going to bring the opposite. It's going to bring the death and destruction, and it's not going to be blessed. You know what I'm saying? So you got to understand that the significance behind that, and help you understand it when you compare the two, and hopefully to see like, man, I can't keep on doing this disobedience because I'm just gonna keep on having problems, and that's all you're gonna have. You're not gonna have peace. You're not gonna have joy. You're gonna have problems if you're disobedient. You know what I'm saying? So another aspect of disobedience, the definition of disobedience is the omission of that which is commanded to be done, or the doing of that which is forbid. You know what I'm saying? Again, the omission of that which is commanded to be done, or the doing of that which is forbid. So in simple words, doing you. Doing you. You know what I'm saying? Yes, God wants you to do this thing here, and Lord had this for you, but instead I'm going to choose to do me. Doing you. That's what it's saying right there. When you're doing you, you're being disobedient. You know what I'm saying? You're doing you, you're being disobedient. And one of the things that the joys I have, God has brought me, man, such a long way. I think I announced it last week, but I've got another job for those of y'all that was concerned. I got another job, and it's actually, even though I got fired from my last job, I actually got this job hired me, and I'll be making a significant amount more than I was making at the job I got fired from. So, you know, it's true. When you keep your faith in God, He closes one door and opens another one. So I actually got fired, and because I got fired, I actually got elevated. That only God can do something like that. You know what I'm saying? But one of the things is, I've come a long way. Y'all know my testimony. Most of y'all know my testimony. Y'all know what I was raised up in. Y'all know what I went through. You know what I'm saying? Y'all know all the things I've seen. Y'all know some of the things I've done. You know, but I've come a long way. And because of that, I'm always getting compliments. Man, I'm so proud of you. And you know, and I love it. I enjoy it. I'm glad people see the progress. But in reality, I can't take any credit for it. You know, and I tell people like, man, I appreciate you. I understand what you're doing. I appreciate, you know what I'm saying? I appreciate it. And like I said, I'm glad, you know what I'm saying? It makes me happy that people see the progress. They understand the progress. But I can't take any credit from that. Because the only reason why I am where I'm at right now, the only reason why I'm able to do what I'm doing, the only reason why I'm able to bring these lessons to y'all, the way I bring these lessons to y'all, is because 20 years ago, I made a decision to stop doing me, and I started doing what God was leading me to do. And that's how I got into where that is really that simple, y'all. I learned that concept that I was telling y'all earlier, in intro earlier, you know, doing what I know I'm supposed to be doing and not doing what I'm not supposed to be doing. That's all I've been doing. And that's a God concept. So I can't, I can't take credit for that. And I can't take credit for it because I didn't really realize the need to do so, or had the ability to do so, until I started following God. And that's it. That is the key to my success. I stopped doing me. You know what I'm saying? But this world teaches you, just do you. And again, we don't realize how much we are missing out on because we're doing us. You know what I'm saying? We think we're living our best life. We think we got it good. And we don't realize how much better it can be, how much more peaceful it can be, how much more joy we can have. And we just stop doing us and do God. And that sounds wrong. Doing what God's leading us to do. That sounds wrong. You don't want to do God. But you know what I'm saying? But that's the difference. That's really the difference. When I look at where I came from to where I'm at now, the only thing that different is I stopped doing me and I started doing what God was leading me to do. That's it. So I can't really take any credit for it. You know what I'm saying? Yes, I had to make the decision. I had to make the decision to be obedient. But only reason why I had the wisdom to make the decision is because of the wisdom that God gave me, because I started reading His Word. So I can't really take any credit for it at all, even the decision making, because once I got into the Word and it was laid out to me and I saw how important it was to be obedient, it was obvious what the decisions I need to be making. You see what I'm saying? So again, that's the only difference. When you look at where I came from to where I am, I stopped doing me. And we have that problem in our society because our society has showed us or told us that we need to just do you. You know what I'm saying? If it feel good till you do you. You know what I'm saying? You ain't hurt nobody, and you don't realize it is hurting somebody. It's hurting a lot of people. Because the thing is, with the disobedience a lot of times leads to more disobedience. You know what I'm saying? Disobedience leads to more disobedience. You know what I'm saying? That because matter of fact, let me see. Yeah, it leads to more disobedience. And that's what people don't realize. It leads to more disobedience, and it gets you out of compliance. Matter of fact, the last little definition, layer of the definition says, when we do us, no, not well now, when we do us, it leads to the next layer of disobedience, which is a breach of duty prescribed by, authority, which is non-compliance. You know what I'm saying? In other words, you're out of God's will. You know what I'm saying? You're going to be out of God's will. When you're obedient, you're going to be out of God's will because, again, you're not doing what you know you're supposed to be doing, and you're doing stuff you know you're not supposed to be doing. So, again, if you're out of God's will, then guess what? There's not going to be any blessings there. There's not going to be any blessings there if you're out of God's will, because there's no blessings out of God's will, but there's also no failure in God's will. So if you want to get those blessings, you have to be in the will of God. And the only way you're going to be in the will of God is you learn how to be obedient to God's word and do the things that God has for you to do and not do the things he told you not to do. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, one of the worst parts of the disobedience is that it breeds more disobedience. And that's why it takes you out of God's will. It's not like you just do this one little thing and that's it. It always snowballs. Because look at the example with David. You remember with David? You know what I'm saying? When the one big thing that people always have, David was a man after God's own heart, but yet he did this. But remember what it started. First it started with him looking, you know what I'm saying? He started looking. He saw the girl out there naked. I don't know if he was, peeping over or whatever, or she was just out in the open and he just saw it. Either way it goes, it started with him looking. Then he got to thinking about it. Then next thing you know, he brought her to the castle and then he hooked up with her. You see what I'm saying? Then of course, he was doing all this sneaking. He didn't do it out in the open. You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure he had doing this sneaking. He probably sent these messages at night and had her cover up so nobody could see her come to. I mean, I'm pretty sure it wasn't just bring her hither. You know what I'm saying? So he did that, and then he hooked up with her. And then what happened? She got pregnant. So now he got to try to convince her husband to go have sex with her. So he lied and lied to bring him home. Like he really wanted to report. He didn't want to report. He just wanted to get her. Then got the guy drunk. You know what I'm saying? To try to make him go home and have sex with his wife. So giving the man alcohol, you know what I'm saying? So then when the guy wouldn't give in because he was so loyal to the king, which was the sad part about this situation, what he do? Sent him back and had him killed. So you see, it snowballed. It started off with him just looking at something he wasn't supposed to be looking at, and then hooking up with somebody he wasn't supposed to be hooking up with, and then it ended up with lying, and then murder came in. So see, sin, that's what disobedience does. It always breeds more disobedience. And if you look at it, the last little part of the definition in there, it was actually not a definition, just gave this little Bible verse. That's why I said I like to use Webster's 1828. It says it ended with this. It gave this little Bible quote. It says, "By one man's disobedience, many were made sinners." And it, you know what I'm saying, and it had Romans 5 wrote beside it. You know what I'm saying? But you got to notice it said many became sinners. And of course it's talking about Adam. Because think about it, it was because of the sin of Adam that every single human being has been a sinner since. You know what I'm saying? So he's affected one man, that disobedience in one man affected everybody. The one man and woman has affected everybody that has ever lived in the entire history of the earth. You see what I'm saying? So again, we see where that disobedience, it just breeds more disobedience. And it said many. And we see other examples of that in the Bible. There was a situation, if y'all know your Bible, there was a situation where this guy named Korah in the nation of Israel, he got jealous of Moses and Aaron and started talking stuff. And next thing you know, he led a little rebellion. And he had like 250 people following him and their families. And you remember, and if you know the story, it's not about the story, but it's just talking about how he led the people in rebellion. But if you remember the story, they went back and forth, and then Moses said, all right, we'll let God determine who's right. Said, you know what I'm saying, y'all, put some incense and burn some incense in front of the temple, and not the temple, the Ark of the Covenant. And me and Aaron gonna do so, and we're gonna see who God accepts. And of course, they both did it. They had the incense burners, and while they were sitting there, them 250 men sitting there with the incense burner, the earth opened up and swallowed them all. You know what I'm saying? And then closed back up on them. You know what I'm saying? And everybody, you know what I'm saying? Everybody, all those guys end up dying. All their lives was taken away because they followed this one guy that was being disobedient. You know what I'm saying? There's another situation, if you look at when the kings really got in and took over, when Israel split after Solomon, the nation of Israel split because of Solomon's son was a knucklehead and listened to the younger dudes instead of the older dudes. And when it happened, you had Judah and Benjamin kind of stayed together. Then the other 10 tribes, they became the northern tribe, which is mostly, when it related to Israel, when it's reference to Israel, it's talking about the northern tribe of Israel, which is the other 10. And when that happened, there's this guy that took over named Jeroboam, the son of Nebat. And because he was afraid, because the temple was in Judah, the land of Judah, so he was afraid that if the people went back to the temple, they was going to eventually start following the king. So he persuaded them, instead of going to the temple and worshiping, to start worshiping some golden calf that he made. You know what I'm saying? And from that moment on, the nation of Israel, those other 10 tribes, they was always rooted in idolatry. To the point where they was the ones that got kicked out first. And then, of course, eventually they influenced Judah, and Judah got kicked out a little bit of time later, but they was always in idolatry. They was always going through some stuff. And in fact, they was always being punished. And every time they got punished, God said, because of what Jeroboam, son of Nebat, did. So we see where he led them down that path to where that disobedience, spread to everybody else. You know what I'm saying? And even with the Peter and the disciples, y'all remember after Jesus died, Peter and the disciples, Peter, you know what I'm saying, he was expecting, of course, Peter denied him, and then he was expecting some mighty thing to happen when Jesus left, and nothing really happened. So he said, you know what, I'm going fishing. And if you look at there, you read it, it wasn't just like, oh, I'm going to go fishing and I'll be back. It was like, man, forget this church stuff. I'm going back to my fishing business. You know what I'm saying? And of course, they was out there fishing, and Jesus showed up and told them throw their net on the other side of the boat, and they brought in this huge thing, and then he came back to the beach, and of course they had the whole agape fellatio love thing going on. Phileo, I said fellatio, my bad. Phileo love going back and forth or whatever. But my point is, because Peter decided, oh man, I'm tired of this God stuff. Jesus didn't die, and none of this big stuff happens that he said gonna happen. We ain't got this Holy Spirit. I'm just gonna go back. And he took some other disciples with him, because you read, I think it was like 3 or 4 other disciples with him in that boat. They was following him, and because he was being disobedient, they was being disobedient. So again, that's what disobedience does. It breeds more disobedience. I even had to deal with that in my own house at one point. Like when y'all know I got custody of my younger brother. And when I first got him, of course, he was in state's custody. And the first couple of years, he was in state's custody. So, you know what I'm saying, we had to follow like state rules and regulations. And one of the biggest things they harp on is like, you can't spank the child. You know what I'm saying? And of course, the Bible says if you love a child, you spank you. People always say spare the rod, spoil the child, but that's not what the Bible says. The Bible says if you spare the rod, then you hate your son. He said if you don't spank him, you hate him. You know what I'm saying? But we couldn't. Our hands were tied because he had caseworkers coming in, and if he went back and told him he was getting spankings, then not only would they take him out the house, you know what I'm saying, we could have went to jail over it. So the first year or so, like, we didn't get spankings, and I noticed it bred disobedience. So it was stuff that he was doing that he didn't get spankings for. Normally, my kids did it, they would have got a spanking for, but he wasn't getting spanking. And see, with my kid, and I didn't feel right not spanking him and spanking my kids, so I kind of got off the spanking thing for like a year or so. And man, I saw the change, like almost immediately. The change, like well, I ain't gonna say immediately, but eventually I started seeing a change in my kids. And they started being disobedient and being hard-headed because he was being disobedient, being hard-headed, and nothing was happening to him. You know what I'm saying? And it got to a point where, like, it was really like turning my family apart. So we had to have like a family meeting, and I sat him down, like, man, look, I said, we need to have a talk. You know, and this was like, he had been over a year or so we knew we loved him. And I told him, I said, do you believe in your heart that we love you? He said, yes. I said, do you believe in your heart that, we have your best interest in the heart? He said, yes. I said, well, do you love us and you want to be with us? He said, yeah. I said, well, the reason why I'm asking you this, because you need to make a choice. I said, now, we've been letting you slide because of the state and we don't want to get in trouble. But from this point on, if you're going to stay in our house, if you do something that's worth getting a butt whooping worthy, then you're going to get a butt whooping. And I said, that go for you and all the rest of the kids. I'm initiating, I'm bringing back butt whooping. So y'all need to know that from this point on, if you do something that requires a butt whooping, you're going to get a butt whooping. I said that when you get that butt whooping, you're going to have to make a decision to go back and tell your caseworker. They go tell your caseworker, they're going to pull you out of this house and they're going to put you with somebody else, and it might be the worst situation. I'm like, but you're no longer going to stay in my house and be disobedient and not be punished for it. And from that day on, man, that kid, he changed. And y'all know he's 16 now, doing well and one of the top students in the school. But he had to get, I had to get that disobedience out of there because it was breeding more disobedience in my family. So again, that's what disobedience does. It destroys, it kills, it tears apart. Whereas obedience, it brings together, it gives you joy, it gives you peace. And we have to understand that. And that's what I want to do over there. Like I said, this is just the introduction. That's what I want to do over the next few weeks as we go through this series, as we look at Saul and we look at the things that he did. I want y'all to realize that I'm trying to show you that you have a choice, and I'm trying to guide you towards the right one. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to show you that you have a choice. You determine what goes in your life. Matter of fact, I'm just going to go read. I'm going to finish up with this. If we go over to Deuteronomy, I told you I want to bring it up. Deuteronomy chapter 30. Verses 11 through 20. You know what I'm saying? This is basically the same thing that Moses was doing when he gave the laws to the Israelites. The same thing I'm trying to do with y'all with these series. Matter of fact, when I put these series together, and you can even see it in the title, I was thinking about, even though, I was thinking about this verse, and that's why when I read through and I saw what we're about to be dealing with, it came from this verse here, these verses of chapter 30, verses 11 through 20. And I want y'all to realize y'all got this choice. And that was Moses was doing when he was giving them these laws. He would want them to realize they have a choice. So I'm starting on verse 11 through 20, and I'm going to read the New Living Translation. Says, this command I'm giving you today is not too difficult for you to understand or perform. It is not up in heaven, so distant that you must ask who will go to heaven and bring it down so we can hear it and obey it. It is not beyond the sea, so far away that you must ask who will cross the sea to bring it to us so we can hear and obey it. The message is very close at hand. It is on your lips and in your heart so that you can obey it. Now listen, today I am giving you a choice between prosperity and disaster, between life and death. I have commanded you today to love the Lord your God and to keep his commands, laws, and regulations by walking in his ways. If you do this, you will live and become a great nation, and the Lord your God will bless you in the land you are about to enter and occupy. In other words, if you're obedient, you're going to be blessed, just like I was saying in the title. He said, but if your heart turns away and you refuse to listen, and if you are drawn away to serve and worship other gods, then I warn you now that you will certainly be destroyed. You will not live a long, good life in the land you are choosing, crossing the Jordan to occupy. So again, if you're obedient, you're going to be blessed. You're going to live a good, long life. If you're disobedient, you're going to have destruction and death. He said, today I have given you, and this is what y'all got to understand. This is the importance, and make sure you pay attention to this. This lesson is what I'm trying to teach y'all. This is what I want y'all to understand as we go through this series. He said, today I have given you the choice between life and death, between blessings and curses. I call on heaven and earth to witness the choice you make. See what I'm saying? As we go through this lesson and we see this difference between obedience and disobedience, I'm hoping to show y'all that if you choose to be obedient, you're choosing life. And if you choose to be disobedient, you're choosing death. You know what I'm saying? If you choose obedience, you're choosing blessings. And you choose disobedience, you're choosing curses. You know what I'm saying? He said again, today I've given you the choice between life and death, between blessings and curses. I call on heaven and earth to witness the choice you make. Oh, that you would choose life, that you and your descendants might live. Choose to love the Lord your God and to obey him and commit yourself to him, for he is your life. Then you will live long in the land the Lord swore to give your ancestors Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. See, it's your choice. You know what I'm saying? Your choice. And that's what I'm praying as we go through this series. I pray that you will come away from this series understanding how important the choices you make on a day-to-day basis are. You know what I'm saying? I hope you understand that. I pray that you will understand that you have more say-so in the outcomes of your lives than you think you do. You know what I'm saying? We so often we let our environment or our parents or some of our parents and all that, we let that influence the decision we make When in reality, you have the decision on your outcome. We stop making excuses, stop blaming your poverty or my dad wasn't around and all that. I could have did that same thing, but I'm where I'm at because I chose how to, the way I chose. Yes, I was in bad situations, but I chose how I was going to let those situations influence my life. And you can do the same thing. You know, and that's what Moses was telling them. Like, y'all, you have the power to decide. You have more say so over the outcomes of your life than you think you do. And the crazy part is, and this is something I always show when I go out and share the gospel, it's the same way with heaven. A lot of people think God just picks and chooses. He get to go to the heaven. No, he don't. You have more influence over whether you get to go to heaven or you get to go to heaven or you got to go to hell. You do, because you have to make the choice that you want to be there, or you want to make the choice you not want to be in hell. But you have actually have more influence over whether you get to go to heaven or hell than God does. You see what I'm saying? Because God, he's going to judge you by what you did. He's going to judge you by the decision that you made. He's going to judge you by the fact of whether you was obedient or disobedient. So again, you have more influence, you know, and that's really the heartbreaking part of my ministry. Y'all know my ministry called Lost Sheep, you know what I'm saying? Lost Sheep ministry. And, you know, I try to go to like what people call the underserved. I try to go to the thugs, the gangsters. You know, when I really started preaching, developed my preaching was in the jails. Y'all know I try to go to projects like every week, every Saturday, you know what I'm saying? Projects or a trailer park or just a low income area. I do that. And because of that, I come across people with a lot of problems. And the one thing I've noticed is that most of the problems that I'm always have to counsel people for, most of the things that I'm trying to help people with, most of the stuff that people go through are self-inflicted. You know what I'm saying? And that's all I try to do, to help them do. Like, look, if you just make different decisions, you just make better decisions, you can get out of this situation. You don't have to be in this situation. You just got to make the decision to get out of that situation. But some of them is so enthralled in it and so used to making excuses and pointing fingers at everybody else. They just refuse to do what it takes to do the work it takes to get out of that bad situation. A bad one about that is my brother. I love my little brother to death. Y'all know I'm talking, and I'm not talking the one that live with me now, but my older one that I also adopted. You know what I'm saying? I love him to death, man, but his life is a mess. It's a mess, and he didn't have to be there because I adopted him when I was in college. Now, when I got him, he was already 15, 16, and by that time, they've already kind of established who they are. But I still try to be a positive influence with him. He saw me going to school. He saw me working. He saw me, the decision I was making. I taught him what he should be doing, but he never wanted to listen, man. He always wanted to do what he wanted to do. You know what I'm saying? And his life is a mess right now. You know what I'm saying? Every time I talk to him, man, I got this going on. And I have to tell him, like it's days where I can't talk to him because it's always so negative. And I always remind him, bro, you made that decision. You put yourself in that situation. He had a span of about 5 years where he couldn't didn't get to see his kids, and he was so depressed because of it. And I took him back to a day because he ended up cheating on his girl, his baby mama, and the girl he cheated with, he got her pregnant. And I remember the day when he told me he was going to do it. I told him not to do it. I said, bro, you making a bad decision. Don't do that. And and his response was, man, I've been faithful for 5 years. It's time to get back out there. You know how we used to get down? I'm like, yes, that's how we used to get down, bro. But you got to grow up. You got to mature at some point. And I'm told, I said, man, if you do this, you're going to lose that girl. That girl's been faithful to you, even though you treated her horrible. He was a horrible boyfriend. I said, but she was faithful because he always stayed faithful. You know what I'm saying? So even though he was a terrible person, an individual at that time, she always stuck with him. You know what I'm saying? I said, so if you cheat and she find out, bro, that's going to be the last straw. She's going to leave. Man, and he went out there, and what did he do? He went out there and cheated, got the girl pregnant, and the girl left him. Came home one day, she was gone. And he didn't get to see his kids for like 5 years. You know what I'm saying? The only reason why I ended up seeing her and finally was able to get back in the kid's life, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? It was tragic because the young lady, she ended up coming down with brain cancer, and she was passing on, and it was just one of those situations where she wanted to get, things straightened out before she passed on kind of thing. So he ended up, reaching out to her, and she told him about the kids and let him start, working his way back in the kid's life and things of that nature. But I mean, from so many years, he was so miserable and so depressed. And it's because of the decision that he made. And most of the stuff that I deal with people, most of the stuff that I'm dealing with, Most of the problem they have, especially in my ministry, is because of things that they're doing, decisions they were making. Yes, I know you was raised in a project. Yes, I know your mom and dad was this and that and that. You know what I'm saying? But it's only when you become an adult, you got to let that stuff go, man. And that's what I tell him, because he, oh, well, mama was this and that. Yes, I know, bro, but you are 30. I'm 44. So he's 39 years old, almost 40, and he's still whining, complaining about stuff that happened to him when he was 10, 11, 12 years old. Bro, that was 30 years ago. You've had ample time to make better decisions, to get yourself in a better situation. You know what I'm saying? So again, we got to make better decisions, and all you have to do is make the decision to be obedient, but he chooses to be disobedient. He don't want to be obedient. He want to do the things that he love to do, and he want to do them the way he love to do them, and that's why he's always going through some stuff. He's always calling me with some problems. You know what I'm saying? And I like y'all, the last problem I had, like I told y'all, was something that was out of my control. I ended up losing my job. You know what I'm saying? God decided that I wasn't good enough to be there no more. He got rid of me. But guess what? God gave me an even better job. You know what I'm saying? And instead of this job, I'm making more money. And instead of working 3 different positions, it's just doing 1 position. You know what I'm saying? So it's actually, I got elevated because, you know what I'm saying? Because I always do what I know I'm supposed to be doing. You see what I'm saying? And when you do know you're supposed to be doing, you're going to get the blessings. You're going to have the peace. You're going to have the joy. But if you're going to be disobedient, you're going to have the chaos. You're going to have the drama. You're going to have the problems. But you get to choose. And that was I wanted to end with. Moses was telling them, I'm giving y'all the choice. Today I have given you the choice between life and death, between blessings and curses. And I call on heaven and earth to witness the choice you made. And that's the same I want y'all to understand as we go through this series. As we go through this series, I'm going to compare, you know what I'm saying, obedience and disobedience. It's going to be mostly focused on this disobedience, going to see what happens, but there's going to be some obedience in there as well. But I'm doing it because I want y'all to compare. I want y'all to understand that when you make those decisions to be obedient or disobedient, you're choosing life or death. You're choosing prosperity and blessings, or you're choosing curses. You know, and I hope after this series, you will have a greater understanding of this and will work to be more obedient. And because you're working to be more obedient, you're choosing life. So that's it. Like I said, I just want to do this intro tonight. And that's all I want. This is just an introduction to the series. This is I want y'all to understand my mindset behind it, kind of what we're going to be discussing, the kind of things that we're going to be going through. And I'm hoping y'all will come back. So we're going to get into the actual story in the first Samuel, the last part of 14 and the whole chapter 15. And we're just going to see the decision that he made and how he made decisions. Some situations he made decisions to be obedient, and some he made decisions to be disobedient, and how his kingdom and his life was affected by those decisions. So that's what we're going to be going over next week. I hope this lesson tonight, I hope this gets you interested in the series, and you want to come back to see the series, and again, hopefully have a different perspective on the importance of being obedient and disobedient so you can choose life. So with that being said, ending announcements as always. Like I said, that was just the intro tonight, and next week we actually get into the meat of the lesson, and we'll look at the things that Saul did and the choice he made that was disobedient and obedient, and the outcomes of those decisions that he was made. So, of course, if there's anything in particular that you'd like me to talk about, or any story I haven't covered already, please reach out to me and let me know. As of right now, next Monday, 7 o'clock, we're going to jump into the end of 1 Samuel 14, and we're going to look at this comparison over the next few weeks with disobedience. But if it's something else y'all want me, once we finish this series up, you got another direction you want to go, just reach out to me and let me know, and I'll work that into the lesson plan. Keep sharing the videos, telling other people about the videos. The views have been going up, and I really appreciate that. And I'm hoping it's because people are getting help. I'm hoping it's because y'all just not sitting here to look at how shiny my forehead is. I'm hoping it's because people are being helped. And I've had a couple of reach out say they've really been helped by these lessons, and I really appreciate that. And I thank God for using the rest like me. But keep sharing the videos, tagging people in videos, whatever you need to do. My stuff is always free. It's always public. I ain't trying to make no money off of it. I'm just trying to get this word out. So keep doing so, and I appreciate y'all. And we can help this thing grow. And of course, if you're not sure about your salvation, reach out to me and let me know. Most important decision that you will ever make in your life. Most important decision. So if you're not sure, if you don't know that when you go through that door called death, you're going to get to see Jesus on the other side, please do not hesitate to reach out to me and let me know. And I'll work out something, work out some time, put some time in my schedule to talk to you about that. And also, if you need any kind of spiritual counseling, got any kind of biblical questions, just need to talk, vent, whatever, reach out to me and let me know, and I'll schedule some time. And I always say schedule my time because I'm not always available. I sit here and lie, be like, oh, I'm always available. Shoot me a text, and I'll let you know, like, hey, no, because I'm like, if y'all know, watch me long enough, y'all know my days are planned ahead of time. Like, you know what I'm saying? My days, I keep my days full so I can stay productive and stay out of trouble. You know what I'm saying? So I can be, it helps me stay obedient, so to speak. But if you reach out to me and let me know you need to talk or something like that, let me know. I'll schedule some time with you so we can talk and help you use whatever little wisdom the Lord has given me to try to help you go through whatever situation you're going through. And it's always, if you want to catch an old series, because I know all my stuff is always series. So if you want to catch an old series or catch an old lesson, if you want to go back and watch some of my older lessons on obedience that I've done and see the difference in the comparison in the two, you go the easiest way to do it to go to my YouTube page, youtube.com. Of course, and type in God's Servant / Lost Sheep Ministries, just like that. I don't have a lot of subscribers. So if you put it in like that, it'll take you to the channel. If you just put in like John Stewart or something like that, it might not take you there. It might take you forever to find it. But if you want to catch the old lessons, something like that, that is the easiest place to go. And of course, I always post them on my Facebook page as well. I never really delete them, but I don't know if Facebook do eventually. So, but with that being said, thank y'all for joining me tonight. I hope y'all enjoyed that. Like I said, it was just the intro. So if you enjoyed that, it piqued your interest, please be back with me next Monday, and we're going to get into the meat of the lesson. We're going to look at Saul and what he did to be obedient and disobedient and how it affected him. And for my lost sheep people that meet in person, Lord willing, we will be meeting tomorrow night at 6:30. So if you're watching this, we will be meeting tomorrow. Reach out to me and let me know if you need a ride. I'm going to send out, I hadn't got the time to send out the text just yet, but I'll do that as soon as this is done. But we will be meeting tomorrow, so let me know if you need a ride. So that being said, I'm going to pray, get out of here. Dear Lord and Father, thank you so much for watching over us tonight. Thank you so much for giving me this intro to this lesson, a very important topic, Lord. And like Moses said, it's a decision of life and death when we decide whether we're going to be obedient to you and your word, or we're going to do the things that we want to do. Help us really to see that, Lord. I pray as we go through the series, please give me the wisdom to bring out these truths that to get the people that want to serve your purpose and your will of their life, and help them see how important it is to make those decisions to be obedient, Lord. We ask you just watch over us as we go about this night. Thank you for this lesson. Again, let these words soak into our heart and give us the want to be obedient, give us the want to choose life. I pray you continue to be with this ministry, continue to help it grow, prosper, reach out to the community, change the lives of others, and capture lost souls of men. Lord, I thank you for helping me stay put. You know, looking like we're going to have to move at some point, but you made it. You opened one door and closed another one, Lord, and we got to stay here. So I thank you for that, and I get to continue to teach my people and guide them in the direction they need to go. And I appreciate the new job opportunity that you have and elevate me in my time of need, Lord. I really appreciate that as well. And I pray you continue to watch over this ministry. Continue to help it grow, prosper, reach out to the community, change the lives of others, capture lost souls of men. I pray you'll be with me, my family, my ministry members, as a whole, all of us, and just continue to encourage us in the direction we need to go and help us get everything done we need to get done to get where we need to be according to your will and grace of our lives. We ask you to watch over the world as a whole, Lord. You know, I'm always praying for the world, and I pray for the day when the world as a whole, we will humble ourselves, pray, seek your face, and turn from our wicked ways so you can hear from heaven, forgive our sins, and heal our lands, Lord. And I also pray with all those that serve, all our service members, all those that are in the military, law enforcement, rescue services, medical service, all those who have jobs that put them on the front line of danger. I pray you continue to be a wall of protection around them. Help them see that no matter how far away from home they are, they're never too far away from you, Lord. And continue to use them to do the honorable thing that they do and give them the wisdom to make the right decisions, especially when it comes to life and death situations, and be able to be a wall of protection around them so they can make it home and embrace their loved ones once again. And they give you all the honor and glory and grace because of it, Lord. I ask you to watch over all my people, Lord. Continue to keep them safe. Continue to give me the wisdom, me and my family, the wisdom, guide them in the right direction. And I pray we continue to have an influence on their lives so they will have the heart and the desire to give their whole hearts to you just as we have, Lord. And I pray that I can guide them in the right direction. Thank you so much for this wonderful lesson tonight. I pray that the people are blessed by it, but more importantly, I pray you touch their heart and bring them under conviction and get them to want to and desire to be more obedient as well, not just for the rewards, but just so they can show you that they truly do love you and they truly are your friends. We thank you so much for all you've done and given. Thank you for this moment tonight. And we say this prayer in your wonderful son, Jesus' name. Amen. All right, man. Thank y'all for tuning in. Couldn't really see it. They don't really display the profiles anymore, so I can never really tell if people on here or not. And I could just be preaching myself. I don't know. But I appreciate you. I know it's a couple of people made comments, so I can tell that they was here. Miss Alicia, I can see you still here, but I can't see your profile bubbles. But for all y'all that came in, I appreciate y'all being here. Again, I hope this helped you. And I pray that you come back next Monday and we can really get into the meat and we can see the decision that Saul made and how it was affected his family and his life and his kingdom was affected by those decisions. So until the end, I love you all. Remember to continue to pray for me. I continue to pray for y'all. And remember, never get up, never go to bed. And when you're out in this world, make sure you're always watching your back and praying. I love you all. Until next time, peace.